Yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but of course being 11-0 in our last games, it's a good momentum swing. We have a lot of confidence, which helps us a lot. So I think we're close to being the best team in LEC.
Hello everyone, this is Alex from the Shotcaller, joined here today by Joey Youngbuck after a convincing victory over Team Vitality in the first round of the playoffs. So I don't need to ask how you feel right now because you must feel pretty good.
Thank you.
Let's jump right in with the first game. You had a pretty surprising enemy top lane pick with Lucian into Gangplank. Did you expect anything like this, and how do you think it turned out?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for not asking how I feel. That question happens too often. When they looked in Lucian, we were kind of joking on stage that this might be a top lane Lucian, but people said, just give me GP. I really don't care if it's going top lane. And it turns out he really didn't care, and for good reason.
Right. We might remember that first dive attempt, I think it was, when Brippo turned out really well and got 1 kill and 1 assist, I think. And in general, they put a lot of pressure onto Brippo in top lane, but especially Reckless in the second game and Nemesis in the third game then got the resources from your side and performed pretty well. In general, Nemesis, it has been his rookie split. And while he's not mainly seen as the most outstanding rookie in the league, he still had statistically really good performances. Now, statistics don't mean anything. It's more about the team play. But how do you feel he found his way into the team, filling the big shoes of Caps?
I think that throughout the split, he really learned what kind of champions that the team needs to win, what kind of playstyle fits us best, and how he is part of that. And since then, I think his performance has been absolutely phenomenal. I think he's a top 3 mid laner easily since week 4, I would say, since our losing spree ended. So I'm really happy with the way he's been performing, and even in his playoffs, he's a rookie, right? So you would expect a little bit of difficulty from him, but he was just a stone cold killer.
Yeah, I mean, just like Selfmade, his former teammate, and they're both performing pretty well. And in general, all the rookies did a good job. Nobody was really underperforming. So you're already through the first round. Tomorrow, SK Gaming will face Splice. Who do you see as a favorite in there, or who do you want to face in the next round?
I think SK Gaming has a very slight edge if they don't have struggles with inexperience in the playoffs. But I think it's going to be a 3-2 series either way. And I also do hope we face SK Gaming because we've practiced against them more recently, so we kind of know what they're made of. Whereas, for example, Splice, we haven't practiced against for a little bit over a week. So then you're always a little bit more in the dark, and it's usually a creepy feeling because not knowing what your opponent is doing exactly is usually the worst feeling that you can have. And even going into this Vitality series, we see a lot of Talia and solo queue, but not really necessarily in our scrims. We see Cabochard playing Diana top lane, and we're like, wait, is this maybe secret OP, and are we going to run into this and have a big problem against it? I like playing against people who've just practiced, so SK Gaming, please.
Yeah, all right. So talking about scrims, how do you prepare for example, games like the finals? Because all teams that are still in Berlin are possible opponents for the next rounds. So how does it go?
So for the last week or two, we mostly scrimmed against Origin because we cannot face them in the first 2 rounds, and then we alternated some Splice and SK here and there, fully knowing that yes, we might play them next week, but that's just the price to pay. That's always the case in playoffs where you are on one side of the bracket and you know that you only have 2 scrim partners on the other side of the bracket, maybe 3. But yeah, we still practice against the LEC teams.
And all scrims turned out pretty well?
I would say so. I also think that a lot of times I'm intentionally doing bad drafts because I want to anticipate my opponent's moves and make sure that we don't always get the best drafts for ourselves. So I always throw a few experimental drafts in every single day, just in case we get pushed in a specific corner, maybe 3 support bands, 3 AD carry bands. And then we do some weird different drafts that aren't optimal. I know are not optimal, but I want to have them practice because they might happen on stage.
I was just about to ask it because Brippo told us in the 1v1 we did 3 months ago that IG was doing exactly the same against you in scrims, banning out 3 support champions and then seeing, well, is there something else that player can still play, or well, does he not have anything else in the back and we can just outban him? So you did pretty much the same to your opponents already. Looking at your recent performance, on what level do you see your team right now? Are you still at 50%? Are you at 70%? Are you at 90%?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we're around 66%, 2/3 of what we can fully accomplish. We see a lot of things in our practice still that we need to improve on and can improve on, and I think especially consistency is something we struggle with even in our practice, even with the bad drafts. A lot of times we don't lose the game just because the draft is bad, because we don't really properly execute our game plan. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but of course being 11-0 in our last games, it's a good momentum swing. We have a lot of confidence, which helps us a lot. So I think we're close to being the best team in LEC.
I mean, that's what everybody wants to be, right? Well, I talked to Youngbuck just before you, and he also thinks that you're one of the hot contenders. Has he made a statement who will win in the end? I think he said G2, yeah. He said G2 will win, but you will make it to the finals. That's also what he said, that you will probably beat OG in the semifinals, but you will have the edge because you have been evolving more rapidly over the last weeks. So at the beginning of the split, you had that loss streak, and well, as a consequence of that, obviously some trust issues within the team. And then you brought in a sports psychologist. And did that alone resolve all the issues, or what else did you do?
I actually think that the losses helped the players trust each other more because they realized. I know I talked to a few players after matches early in the split, and they were like, "Yeah, I felt like going into this match, if I wasn't going to carry alone, we were not going to win." And these were different players. So I think after we were 1-5, everyone was like, "Okay, we're not going to do this alone." And then secondly, I do think that our sports psychologist helped a lot. He came a few times to Berlin and had really helped with some team bonding exercises, talking about the differences between the players. He analyzed all the players and myself and our assistant coach, Mephisto. Like, okay, these are your personality types. This is how you guys interact usually with each other. This is what's good, what's bad. This is like things that you need to be careful of when you interact with a person who is so much different than you are in this regard and that regard. So I think that helped a lot to get closer to each other and understand each other more. So I think that was just a really big boon to the team as well.
Also, you took the blame on you in the beginning for not being the best early game coach, and then finally accepting that you also need to change in order for the team to be successful. So is only getting more into the early game the only thing you have changed about the style you coach, or is there something else you also evolved in?
I would say primarily the focus on early game in practice and just increasing my own knowledge, yes. We've also changed our scrim schedule. We've changed the way we review between the games, so we've evolved a lot. So yeah, I think the reviews between the games are very systematic right now, very solid. We changed our schedule, which helped us a lot. And then focusing more on early game and increasing my own early game knowledge and having our assistant coach Mephisto focus on that a lot helped us tremendously.
So what's left for us is to hope that you will improve even further with the whole team, with the whole staff, and then hopefully that we will see you in finals. And maybe, I mean, you're pretty strong, D2 is pretty strong. Whoever makes it to MSI, we will happily have both of you there. Yeah. So that sums it up for us. Then a hashtag from your side, which pretty much sums up probably today's game, because we will see you next week again.
So for today, I was thinking about like hashtag V4, but I cannot come up with something funny. Hashtag F4 fatality.
Well, F4 fatality? Fatality, yeah.
They have their own V4 fatality thing.
Yeah. Oh, V for
V for victory?
Yeah, it has been, yeah.
Okay, so
F4 victory.
fatality.
Okay. All right, F4, hashtag F4 fatality. Anything you want to say to the fans before the matches next week? Hopefully against SK, right?
Yeah, I don't think it matters that much. They're very statistically the same, but I always want to appreciate and give a shout out to the supporters who've been with us through thick and thin. We just went 1-5. They're still around and they're cheering for us, and always seeing all the people in the studio is great, and at the fan meet. So always happy to see them and all the positive messages on Twitter as well. So thank you very much.
Right. So just keep the win streak going, and thanks for taking your time. Thanks for you for watching. Make sure to follow Joey Youngbuck is your Twitter, right? Follow Joey Youngbuck on Twitter. Also follow all the Fnatic content they put out on their on your YouTube channel. A great series about the backgrounds of the team and what happens behind the curtain. Also follow our channel, join our Discord server, and see you next time.
Hey everyone, unfortunately we still don't have a sponsor, so we do really rely on you guys supporting us on Patreon. So we'd especially like to thank Krzysztof Bujnovic, Thomas Göttel, Etienne, Erich Althaus, Lazy Raven, Lama Vyuta, and Adam Novosviat for your support, and of course all the names of the people you see scrolling past you right now. It is genuinely truth when I say that without you this wouldn't be possible right now, so we really do appreciate it. Thank you.